issue with sleeping with a lot of guys. Did you know if you sleep with more than 5 guys, your chance of a happy marriage after 10 years goes from 80% to 25%?
Why?
Yeah, casual sex.
Why? Because the more men you sleep with, you lose your ability to bond with each one.
Pair bonding.
Yeah, it's pair bonding. So if you sleep with one guy, you're going to compare the next guy to him. If you sleep with 10 guys, you compare all 10. If you sleep with 20, you compare all 20.
And guys hate being compared to other guys.
Well, they hate being, but it makes you more divorced. Like,
yeah.
You're not likely to be divorced, but you're more likely to leave if you did that because you're with your husband thinking about the last 10 guys that maybe weren't as good as the one you married.
All right. What's good, guys? What's good? And like always, good evening. This is Chaos Rain here. Welcome to another session here on the Chaos Rain channel. As you know, you see the thumbnail, see the title. Before I go into the deep details of this, if you're new to the Chaos Rain channel, welcome to Chaos Rain channel. And for those that will be subscribers, you know the deal, you know the drill. You hit that red button, that top notification bell. And also, there are live streams and uploads here on the Chaos Rain channel. Also, you can now follow me on Twitter at Chaos Rain 7. and that's actually the number 7. And follow me on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. And like always, join the Chaos Rain Discord service. All those information is in the About section, especially the Discord service of the Chaos Rain channel. Also, though, there was some videos done. I would love some comments on some of the videos. As you know, likes are good. They help, ironically, but usually when you give some form of feedback, depending on feedback, it also helps greatly. So normally if you do get across these videos and you either survive the length the video will start from finish or midway point where part, it's always good to leave an impression to see your thoughts and opinions. I am watching and reading it. And as I'm trying to maneuver between, let me see, where am I? I'm probably going to switch some things here. Hold on, guys. Because you know, as I'm doing this, I'm multitasking. And you know how it goes when you multitask on your own channel. You have to do all this extra stuff just to send notifications. And look like they're still talking about Kyrie Irving. I heard there's some rumor going around that he might retire after the end of the season. And, you know me, I don't really believe majority what's put out here about certain black players and the decisions. But let's say if it is true, I think he put in enough time in the NBA anyway. I think he put in almost a decade anyway. Most basketball players on average survive 12, maybe 13 years. So Kyrie is already well overdue of playing his time in the NBA, personally. If he decides to walk away from now and not give in, I, as a person, would understand. Because really, truly, no, and my thing is this. There's no such thing as freedom of expression and freedom of speech, right? Most people want to hear that or not. As long as somebody's paying you, they control the terms the way things are dictated. And personally, you're going to reap the consequence for every action you take. And really, truly, how I look at it is, if you're going to be an entertainer, a celebrity, you better be very well established, get your ducks in a row, and prepare and plan for your exit plan. And what I mean by exit, you're going to have to start planning and strategize to get out as possible moving forward. And this applies to any basketball player. You should not be staying at longer than you should be, personally. Because how I look at gentlemen, it does not suit you well in the short term and in the long haul. One thing is evident that, he isn't his right mind to share anything that he feels that inspire him. But we all know how the system works, that not everything needs to be shared, and not everybody needs to know what is on your mind. So, all right. I think all my notifications out right now. Let me make sure. Okay, so let me go back. I'm going to be using 2 screens to know what's going on. Okay, so now let me look at the monitor here. And I think all the notifications. Let's see. Oh, hold on, guys. One more thing I'm gonna send, and then we gonna begin. And as the year winds down, I think it's going to be interesting when these elections go by to know where the seating and where certain positions we're seating that's moving on to the bigger election moving forward in 2023. So it looks like everything is setting the atmosphere to what is to come. It's going to be very interesting, guys. It's going to be very interesting. All right. And let me see. Let me check one more thing. All right. Enough of that. I think I got everything set. Let's look. Yeah. All right. Let's begin, guys. And I'm going to use my bigger monitor so I can see what's going on. Let me see what's going on here. Mm-hmm. Mute that. All right. Today's stream is titled Polygamy is Dangerous. And I mean dangerous. It is so dangerous. All right. So why I say or put the title Polygamy is Dangerous. As y'all know, I stumble across certain information. And shout out to most of the people that puts out good information throughout the social media and YouTube side of things. It seems to me that when we talk about polygamy, or you see certain communities, and polygamy is one of the main things on the menu for certain or a good portion of men. Ironically, we as a people don't know that how we look and view polygamy today is something that really was always been around since human existence during times of need. But it's much deeper than that. It is much worse than that. Where's my article? I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find the article, guys. Okay, here's the article. I'm going to try switch up, see if I can get it onto here. Preview. I'm going to probably share this on the share screen. Where? Oh god, this ain't got to do this to me now. All right. I'm going to let me try this again. Let me see if I can get it to upload here. I want to share this on Google. Where is it? All right. Well, how am I gonna share this? One moment, guys. Let me figure something out. Because now I'm getting technical difficulties. Oh, you know what I'll do? This will work. Okay. Yeah, this will work. All right. Figure it out now. There, I got it. All right, so let's share the screen. Now, as you know, polygamy for human existence was a necessity, and is always a derivative of lack of male supplies in rotation to potentially, and what has always been the consequence of war. When men go out and battle and lose their lives, and they have a family or a woman that they love, most likely 9/10 of the time that woman has to mate into the one that either survives, or the male populace that was pretty much either unfit for war, or like I said, they survive to be the ones that will take on as another wife. I'm just looking at the okay. All right, so let's share this. And this was taken out of the Committee Study of Eugenics. A best practical means of cutting off the defective germs plasma in the American population. Scope of committee works. Eugenics. Posted back 13 years ago, January 2009. Very lengthy study. And as you know, the Bulletin of the Eugenics Records Office, and even go as far as you see the title, as old as since 1914. Eugenics Records Office Bulletins number 10A, reports of the committee to study and report on the best practical means of cutting off the defective germs, plasmas in the American population. Eye of the scope of the committee work by Harry H. Lang. And this is from, like I say, Long Island, New York of 1914. This was an 108-year-old study, I believe. And things might have updated. Some might have not. But the point is this: how people do research and have strategized how they want to control populations of people. They do it through their own rigorous trial and errors and put it in a report and come to the conclusion what is the best practice for controlling beings, human beings, etc. And report committee studies, reports practical, the scope of committee works by Lang. As we go down further, Eugenics Records Office. All right, let's go down further. And the one thing we'll focus most is the polygamy side of things. And has other things like neo-Mathism, summaries, life segregation, sterilization, which is irrelevant. I don't go into those things because we all know that sterilization back then and now is still a form of practice. I think now how they used to sterilize people back 60, 70, 80 years ago or 50 years ago is different now, where, you know, they need your consent and they will get your consent without you knowing. Okay. Let's look at this. And we're gonna go down to general environment betterment and up to polygamy. So we're gonna start on page 50. Actually, let's see. Let me see if you guys can see that. Let me zoom this in so y'all can see this better. All right. They got the form class, study class, suggesting remedies. And these are the remedy side of things. This is section 3. While other sections deal with other deeper issues, unfit, defective. And my biggest concern about all this, since I am sharing this, is that why has not the other scholars that has much stronger channels than me have never talked about this in detail? That's my biggest question. Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm trying to find something. I'm trying to find somebody here. What's going on here? Can't find his email. Oh, wow. All right. So let's go down. And we're going to go deal with the investigate introduction. And then we're not going to read all of it. We're just going to go to introduction parts so we get this out of the way. And then we'll go into more important, serious issues. So I'm just looking back and forth. All right. The introduction. The investigation reports in this series of studies was initiated at the second meeting of the research committee of the eugenics section of America's Breeders Association at Palmer, Mass. May 2nd and 3rd of 1911. So this study took roughly 3 years. Now, the money that's put into doing these studies, we could say this has been put in the thousands, maybe close to over $250,000, give and take, because usually when the state or the government or anybody does any form of studies, it takes money, and not just small portion of money. It takes large lump sum of money just to conduct very in-depth, deep studies of how the environment is shaping up, what to do to tweak it, and what is to look forward to come years down the line. Like a well-oiled corporation. And some corporations have their memos and what they want to see the corporation look like in the next decade or two. I think most countries like Asia, they're very much a harsh proponent to knowing what the environment is going to look like down the line. For those that's not aware, I remember Mr. Hagen said that they have like a dossier and files of what they want their own companies. Now, this is in Asia. I'm not sure if it's China, Japan, whatever, how they want to shape their corporations to be in the next couple generations. Unlike here in the West, we don't really have that. Maybe a decade or so, but nothing beyond generations. Now, they will say, Chaos, why up here in the West that we don't know if they don't plan like the other groups of people outside America? And the answer is simple, because Asia moves differently than America. Matter of fact, most of the manufacturers is all over Asia, up to the point that they are the large suppliers of manufacturers around the world now, which we get everything from them. Upwards of almost 80% of our goods and service come from them. So let that sink in. Hello, Miss Vibes. How you doing? I hope everything's well. You're gonna like this one. So let's go for and make sure you guys like the stream. Likes are free. Okay. By Dr. W.N. Bellard Preston, presiding. At this meeting, the following resolutions was unanimous adopted, resolving that the chair appointed a commission to study and report on the best practical means for cutting off defective germs plasma in the American population. Now, we know they're talking about non-white people. Whereupon Dr. Billard, after consultation, named the following members of Dr. M. or Dr. W.H. Mitchell Hawthorne, Mass Chairman, Bleekers, Van Wagen, or Wageman, as Stead Center of NH, and we're going to go on all now. I'm going to read all that. On July 15, 1911, the committee met Mr. Van Wagen at the City Club, 55 West 44th Street, New York City. Dr. Mitchell, on accounts of other engaging duties, resigned the chairman of the committee, whereas on mentioning of Dr. Carmel, Mr. Van Wagen was unanimously chosen as the chairman. The committee met from time to time under the leadership of Mr. Van Wagman and outlined the investigation. It was decided to make the study as comprehensive and as thoughtful as possible, and to this end, the aid of an expert advisory committee was deemed essential. The following experts were duly invited and accept memberships on the committee as indicated: medicines, L.F. Baker; psychologically, W.B. Cannon, or physiology; surgery, Alex Carbiology, and we're gonna go all the way down. These naming people that's in certain fields of the profession. We'll go down and skip all that. The works of gathering and analyzing data began in the summer of 1911, and the chairman, Mr. Van Wageman, presented before the first International Eugenics Congress which met in London July 24th to the 30th, 1912, preliminaries report of the investigation. Now, mind you, they meet. They sit down, they eat crumpets, tea, and discuss how they want the world to be shaped and look. Now, I want you to sink in every day of your life. There's someone that is more in the upper mobile of society deciding your fate as you know, if you should be here or you should not be here or not. Ain't that powerful? It's kind of frightening, but also powerful at the same time. Yes, thank you, Positive. Let's go. Let's keep going now. It is the purpose of the committee to investigate all phases of the problem of cutting off the supply of defectives and to publish from time to time data which will we trust aid the students of social affairs in weighing any particular phase of the problem that may present itself. The committee will therefore study the fact it refers to the number of and the rate of manners of increasing of the societal inadequate. It will strive to analyze the factors of hierarchy of inheritance and environment in the prediction of social unfitness observed. It will report firsthand facts concerning the drag that those classes entail upon general welfares and will review the first-hand studies in human heritage and that has been made by careful study of the problem. And finally, the committee will point out what appears as a result of study to be the best practical means so far as the innate traits are factors of purging the blood of the American people of the handicap, the deteriorating influence of those antisocial classes. Let me highlight that. Antisocial and what they mean by antisocial classes. That's something to really put into thought. And in the society we live in today, we are really becoming more and more antisocial. Have y'all noticed this? I've covered this many times. Yes. Antisocial to me that if you're antisocial in a first world nation, how far you go in society is very limited because you're not a social person. And that, to me, you're deemed as weirdo-ness. Now, it could be not your fault, personally. It's the environment that caused why you are so socially awkward as it is, like many cases. Or it could be many more factors. At the end of the day, this environment is so artificial that it's creating more weirdos. And because of this, what you notice, what was written here back almost a century ago, that they're trying to really purge weirdos. Yes, that's right, Positive. So let's be honest. Even back then, they don't want or seem that it's the best interest to society that we have a group of people or class of people being antisocial. This is what I'm getting at. Now, people might interpret this different from what I'm getting, but this is what the first thing that comes to my mind throughout all the content I have covered and talked about, even the problems and possibly maybe the dangers of being antisocial in a first world nation that's preparing you to be antisocial. And yeah, that's one of them. What Positive wrote. So let's keep going. The first series of studies will be devoted to a study of sterilization as a eugenical agency. The studies, the specific problem, then now before the committee may be classified as following: medicine, we call physiology, surgery, and biology. And what do you call thermal methodology? We call anthropology, psychiatry, psychology, moral and ethics, women's viewpoints, which I know that's up there, and criminology, and sociology, and political economy or economy, statistics, law, and what else? History, public affairs, internal core, what they call cooperation, and that is it. So let's scroll back up. Let's scroll back up. All right, we're gonna go for each pinpoint, and then we'll see move from here. Medicine: the standard and methods for determining the types of degenerate proposals for eugenical segregation or sterilization. The rationale of sterilization to the spread of venereal disease. Sterilization is a therapeutic agent. The classification of determination of human defects. Physiology: corporative effects of the various forms of sterilizing normal and different types of abnormal individuals, both male and females, at different ages in respect to nutrition, growth, temperaments, primary sex organs, secondary sexual characteristics, voice, and psychological reactions. Surgery: technical and popular descriptions of the various methods employed in sterilizing both male and females, seriousness and difficulties of operation, preparation and convalescence, and possibility of restoring the procreatorial function in sterilizing person or procreatory. Biology: the origin of the defective strains within the human population, process of contaminating normal strands with defective traits and inherits of defective traits and the manner of their combination into various legal types of social unfit, and the comparative influence of modern and ancient societal conditions on the selective elimination of defective and probably outcomes of present tendencies, it's if unchecked. Terminology: efficiency of sterilization, of hierarchy, and degenerate to raise the average of the race. Comparison between the essential principles of eugenics and the plants of animals breeding, application of those principles and consonance or consonance with the highest social and moral ideal. Criteria for the identification of personal position, defective germ plasma, and consideration of personal mixed worth, defective relating terminology, effective sterilization of all persons with defective germs plasma, and sterilization only degenerate measures of the relative thermal methodology value of sterilization on different scales and of different rates. Anthropology, I'm not going into that. Psychiatry classifies various types of insane with each special reference, hierarchy, factors, standards, traits for diagnosis. Psychology, standard of testing determining type of mental degenerates, defects, proposed of sterilization, efforts of various forms of sterilization, and both male and female mental process, industries, habits, and life of sex instinct. Moral and ethics, eugenics, and democracy, and the attitude of the various churches towards the proposed of sterilized person known to process defective genes, plasma, ethics, morals, and on theologically aspects of sterilization. Eugenically limitations of marriage by the ministry. Women's viewpoint. Now this one was interesting. Women's viewpoint. Relating to responsibility and burdens of men and women within the socially unfit class and rearing children, sterilization as a punitive, humane, and eugenic measures, and as the agency for social prophylaxis, I think that's how they pronounce it. Women view of the right of percentage of individual liabilities to begin or beget socially unfit offspring of whom are unable to prove or provide the environmental necessity of the normal development of offspring. Isn't that this sound like they say about black folks or non-black people, other racial groups? And the attitude of society towards such individuals. Criminology, roles of hierarchy and crime, standard and tests for determining the criminal type proposed to sterilize. What constitutes a confirmed criminal? Consideration of the justice of the operation of the case of redeemable delinquencies, which really they control because you mess with the environment, you tweak the environment like they do, you're going to have crime. Crime is a derivative. And before I go on, when we talk about criminality, before integration, there was crime in the non-black communities, black people, but it was not such a problematic thing or high until we start getting integrated into society for the last going on 57 years. Moving forward, the end of the 60s, going on 70s, that's when the crimes start to heighten in our communities. And that is always a result of lack of opportunity, right? You create it or not, and the access of, the resource. You pull all that away, you're going to create a society or a certain individual people into criminals. Sociology, relative rights and duties of the race and the individual whom society proposed to sterilize. Part of the sterilized individuals take in the social fabric and attitude of society towards such individuals. Estimate of the relative proportion of the social unfit communities to institutionalize care to those living in the population at large. Methods of reaching defective and potential parents of defective not in institutions. Relations of sterilized individuals to the social evil and the spread of venereal disease. Estimate of the present social handicap of defective of the American and other people, relative roles of hierarchy and environmental and produce defective relative rights of control of society and the individual over germplasm presentation of special problems. Connecting with the elimination of each of the several following cases of the socially unfit, feeble-minded class, the paupers class, the irate class, the criminalistic class, the epileptic class, the insane class, the autistic or physically weak class, proposed to specific disease or dietic class, the physically deformed, those with defective sense organs or what they call castic class. So this is a lot. This is a lot, guys. I'm telling you, man, they have it all laid out and written out how they want to play this environment that they manipulate. I'm looking at the comment section, online book club where you read. I'm on the board for that. You might leave your email. Positive vibes. I'm not sure about online book club. Leave your email. I'll probably hit you up if you could do that. Let's keep going. Political economy. Measures of the economy handicaps of the presence of defective their relations to national institution, industrial, military, and intellectual efficiencies, and national, what do you call pre-puberty relations of the sterilization of different scales to future populations and to the relative extent of the defective class. Relations of sterilization to immigrations. Statistics, data relating to the past, present, and probably future costs of maintaining defective, their numbers of classification, their rates of increase absolutely and compared to the rate of increase of the better strains, the age of personal commitment and state custody rates of commitment, length of committee, law, examination of existing sterilization laws with the view of determining whether the Constitution personal grants are sufficiently safeguard due to commitment and commissions authorities to enforce the severe sterilization law constitutes special courts can decisions of commissions and committees reverse of modifying court decrees. Is sterilization in any of the laws held by punitive remedies? If so, can it be considered as a second punishment for one's offense or as cruel or unanimous, usually or the usual punishment? Is the state taking any retaliatory measures towards a certain class of offenders and authorizing the operation? Can the sterilization and degenerate or especially of criminals by legitimate effects through the exercise of police function, flexibility of the common law, and adapting itself to new? And social problems, legal aspects of sterilization. In states practice it without an expression authorization of the law. Do existing laws permit any other surgical operations than sterilization? If so, legal bearings do exist. Law authorities sterilization as a punitive and reforming or we call reformatory and therapeutic or a eugenics measure. Sterilization and inherits property. Framing a model law permitting the sterilization of a person known to have defective germ plasma established criterion, therefore, and provide for effective execution. Digest of legitimacy bearing upon the growing out of the operation. Examining the laws, commitments, states, institutions, etc., etc., etc. A few more. History accounts of the origin and development of relating numbers of social unfit within the great nations of history. Add to society towards the class. War and defective eliminations of the best blood relating to national decline. Genius and national greatness. Public affairs. Sterilization and relations to the general welfare, the conservation policies and sterilization politically expectancy of the proposed remedies, weighing and balancing of the fact and arguments present by the consideration of the several aspects of the problem, with the view of practical applications. International cooperation, a review of the studies looking towards the possible application of the sterilization of defectives in foreign countries, together with records of any such operation from eugenically motives, foreign law, customs, and attitudes in reference to eugenically sterilization. The extent and nature of the problem of the social inadequate in foreign countries. To complete this series of studies is a huge task, and the commitment will be satisfied if it can present under each of the given headings a few of many permanent facts for consideration by the public from the beginning of those studies, and commitment has frequent intervals had the advantage of consulting with Dr. Charles B. And that's the end of that. That's the end of that. And the first chapter deals with the problem, but we're not going with the problem. Let me see what was in my how long I've been on here. All right, 44 minutes. Okay, that looks accurate. All right, so now we're going to go down and look at eugenics. And let me write this down. to the polygamy. We're going to go to it now. Because that was just a brief introduction of it before the chapter. We're not really concerned about chapters. Right. Let me do this quickly. All right. What's this? And this right here in the part 3, it deals with suggestions. And these are their suggestions. I'm trying to find. Oh, I passed it. Let me go back up. I knew I passed it. All right. This is polygamy. All right, 46. Okay. So in polygamy, in animals breeding, polygamy or the pure serve method has been one of the most potent agencies in rapid advancement, or they call it advancements, and the essential biological principles of polygamy be applied to mankind, we should expect these same biological values to occur. And eugenically programs that advocate polygamy must be doomed to failure because it strikes at one of our most priceless heritage. So laboriously rough through centuries of moral suggestion or struggles, it would be buying a biological benefit at vast too great a moral cost. A eugenics program to be effective must and can be based upon an enhanced sense of monogamy and of the what it calls scarceness of love and maternal fidelity or marital fidelity. If any serious student of the modern eugenical studies advocate polygamy, it is unknown to the member of this investigation committee, although many uninformed critics of the eugenics program unhastily complain that eugenics proposals to apply the method of the stud farm to mankind. Let's read that one more time. I want that to soak into those, and y'all make your own conclusion to this. Polygamy in animal breeding, polygamy or the pure serve method has been one of the most potent agencies in rapid advancements and the essentially biological principles of polygamy be applied to mankind. We should expect those same biological values to occur. And eugenically programs that advocate polygamy must be doomed to failure because it strikes at one of our most priceless heritage, so laboriously, roughly, through centuries of moral struggles. It would be buying a biological benefit at vastly too great and moral cost. A eugenics program to be effective must and can be based upon an enhanced sense of monogamy. A program to be effective must and can be based upon an enhanced sense of monogamy and of the scarceness of love and marital fidelity. If any serious student of the modern eugenics studies advocate polygamy, it is unknown to the members of this investigation committee, although many uninformed critics of the eugenics program unhastily complied that eugenics proposed to apply the methods of the stud farm to mankind. I'll let that sink in. Eugenics and polygamy. Like I said before, this is an old form of practice for centuries. It is always in the best interest. And I mean, best interest, the people that is trying to deem, cut back and have less people. You don't want certain practice be played or advocate. Now, if y'all not familiar or recall anything, in certain states of the United States, there are certain tribal people, i.e., racial group of people, that is, operating and practicing polygamy. I think, from what I can remember, one of those states was in Utah, which is really, I think, almost a 90-something% state of non-Black people, mostly Caucasian people that live in Utah. And they're practicing this. Some could say they're Mormons, possibly. But when we hear and talk about with Black folks, you always hear this issue, this problematic issue that is nasty, they should not practice it, etc., etc., etc. These men want more access to women so they can get more sex, etc., etc., etc. And I hear even things called polyandry, where a woman wants to have more than one man. Which, they are doing it as well in the modern time, i.e., IG, Snapchat, or even go as far as what's in your DM, baby. So when we look at Black people right now as a whole, we are definitely operating and moving in backwardsness when it comes to, having more than one mate. And I keep real honest. It's the point that we lie about it. As you know, most dudes, they will dream and want to have more than one woman because, let's be honest, that's more sex. And I'm always saying this and keeping it real with y'all, because how we move in society, especially people, we're only moving in our lower forms of how much access we can get more of each other. That is it. It's not something that you're building any structure or building anything that's what we call that will potentially make generation of wealth. Which generation wealth is a lengthy process. You don't get it in one generation or two. You have to work on it. You have to make sacrifice, which a good portion of Black folks today don't do enough. So we get what we deserve. And personally, some of you niggas should not be practicing certain things anyway, because your mind state is not there. You engage in it. You're engaged in it in regards to just getting more of a release. You hear these Hebrew Israelites say they got more than one woman. And yeah, you're going to get more than one woman because you're not really married to the state, because the state does not advocate, they don't legislate or make in law say it is in your rightful duty as a human being or as an American citizen that you could marry more than one woman. And the reason why they will never do this is because you see right here in this eugenics paper. Monogamy in the West is designed, as we see, and I don't care what people will think of this, is another form of control. That is it. Now, if our people were in their right state of mind, they would strategize how to use this more to their advantage than use it than their disadvantage. And be honest up front, especially since there's an imbalanced ratio of men and women. I'm heard from certain content creators, and y'all might not know this. I'm hearing them saying that if one man makes most of the money or all the money, and women are trying to pull from that under 10% a pool of men, that is, oh well, at least they provide for it. That's good enough. No, it's much more deep than that. And really true, that's problematic in a sense, because even though you provide it, you gotta make time and structure with not only the wives but also the children. And if you're not doing that or planning to do so, you having more than one child and you can afford it is more detrimental in the long run, especially how we think and operate as people. That's why when I think about, most women homeschooling their children, it is one step, but it's not going to fix the problem that we face as people. And here's why: because your children have to socialize with society. And every time I say I choose how to socialize, you are losing the battle. Every human being has socialized with other human beings to potentially not only maybe work together, but also network and make money. Early part of the stream, it talks about antisocial behaviors. Go back to the stream when I read that part. That they're trying to, that's one of the benchmarks of really setting you up for them saying you cannot carry on your genetics to the next future. Because you are of no use, because you are operating and could be one of those potential people that are antisocial. And society does not operate through anti-socialism. They do promote and push individualism, but they don't say you could be socially awkward and be antisocial at the same time. No, that will not work. That will not be fitting. That will not stand. If you're that person in the society, they got things for you. They got things set for you. Yes, they do. Yes. Oh, yes. You're not seeing it now, but you're going to eventually see it down the line. But early trade, that is one of the benchmarks of they're saying that you cannot carry your genes to the next generation. And polygamy is another tool that also controls numbers. And let's be honest, most non-Black people, not white, Caucasian, wherever, are having hard times repopulating and replacement of birth rates, which is now down to under 1. So if you notice, that tells me in the next couple decades, you're going to have more and more of an older society. A very much older society that cannot really sustain a population and sustain structure in the long run. And make sure you guys keep hitting the like button. Likes are free. I'm doing and looking at this. And what the fuck? Okay. And knowing so and doing so, we gotta be fair and honest here. That if polygamy was really problematic, like I said it was, to me, then I could tell you as a non-white man, aka a person that's the minority of this country, Black or whatever, to sit there practice it, regardless of you practicing it already and you practice it very loosely and not with no structure, and it becomes problematic in the long run. They won't tell you that you should not be practicing it, or they'll put or create shows advocating for it. They'll just sit there, the women will do his work for you so that we don't engage in it. And if you do engage in it and you, let's say, married, your so-called wife, if you're married to this woman, has the right and authority to divorce you and take wherever you got. At the point, if you have a girlfriend and there's no ties, she could sit there, take you to the child support system, because you were not upfront honest that your intentions were clear either from the start or down the line that you want more than one wife. And trust me, a lot of women will not be honest and tell you fellas that I want more than one husband or more than one boyfriend because I want to sit there and, I want to be there and sit there and consume and what's the word? Take from you, from not only from you, but from other men. And this is where we ask people that being quiet, moving in silence, and luckily, and lo and behold, we come out and reveal our true intentions down the line is very much telling. Very much telling. It is so telling that it's telling that we want us to have our cake and eat too. And that's not how life works. Now, you know, I mentioned Mr. Curry constant times in his books that he wrote, because he is a man that is a American player himself. But what he wrote, even to back then and still relevant today, because he's still alive and he's married himself, that it shows how you have to move now if you're a man on your path, your mission, and being upfront honest. This is how you have to move. The things that is not being taught or talked about, or what they say is bad, they're lying to you. Eugenics create the notion of what is, how you're supposed to function, move as a being, and how society is shaped up. And society is shaped up by how they manipulate this environment. So if they want more children and make you pay for it, they will make and create the environment for that to do so. If they want you to have more than one wife and have as much sex and have multiple women without them taking from the ringer, they will do so. But they're not going to do that because it's not in their advantage. Even normally that they are the majority of this country, they're not going to push certain programs and put things in place or teach things in place because it defeats the purpose. You're playing a numbers game here. And because this number game you play, they do play for keeps. I'm just going scrolling down more. And the summary of this is the summary of this portion, this section, is human societies need to avail itself of every possible means for its own advancement. Quite naturally, these means fall into two classes: those pertaining to improving the conditions of individuals already born, those concerned the improvement of the innate qualities of future generations, and the later means is the concern of the science of eugenics. And eugenics, in turns, work quite naturally along two channels: one concerning the increase, what they call fecundity, and predominating of the better classes, concerning that cutting off the supply of defective eugenics or defectives. Sorry, I gotta pause. Eugenics is the best and long-time investment and will appeal only to far-sight patrons. Like all other long-time investments, the early and the greater the primary investment in accordance with the familiar principles of geometrical progression, the vast greater and the end result. This particularly investigations, sorry about that, aims to fit into a general scheme of social betterment and attempting to point out a practicable means for accomplishing the cutting off of the supply of innate social misfits. It does propose to the only one of several agencies of social advancements. It is a duty of human society to grasp early possible means for the what they call ameliorating, and it is found that segregation, sterilization, defective, and means of improving the innate qualities of future generations without inflicting a present moral wound. It is the duty of society, even at great cost and efforts, to bestir itself in applying such remedies. This investigation points very slightly to the fact that with all of the upbolstering influence of modern humanitarianism, natural force no longer suffice to select only the fittest for the human breeding stock. We contend that the pre-puberty of our civilization depends primarily upon the conservation of the best inborn traits of our citizens, and that is societal order, finding a key to the conservation of the best unity and falling to use it and remiss in the societal duties and will suffer racial deterioration. A successful society must at all hazards protect its breeding stock. All successful societies must at all hazards protect its breeding stock. And since under modern conditions, a vigorous program of segregation supported by sterilization seems to present the only practical means of accomplishing such ends of progression, social order must ensure self-preservation, accepting it. Hmm. By the time consistent elimination programs have been in operation for 2 generations, the lines of descent of lowest level of the American population will have been cut off. And during this time, the institution can be made more and more self-supporting due to potential receiving a higher class of inmate and administrative reform and experience of practical self-maintenance. Gradually these institutions can be transformed into industrial schools and can be used perpetually for educating, training, and segregation. And the more unfortunate and the least gifted members of population, there will always be insane, feeble-minded, and deformed individuals, but they need not constitute so large a proportion of our total population, nor need they contaminate our more worthy families. It is history of human civilization, and plants of animals breedings have taught us anything. They have taught us clearly that the human race is capable of vast improvement by rational selection of parents, and this can be done without sacrifice one whit or idea of love and fidelity. Hand in hand with the workings out of eugenical programs will come an increased and enhanced feeling of society or sanctity of life and parenthood. These programs for cutting off the lower level of the human breeding stock is only part of the general eugenics program, which must include also the positive side, namely encouraging increased femininity, fortune mating among the better class, and tend to times goes by the business of eugenics will tend more and more towards the positive side of eris or the what they call artistic genics or artistical genics, and there's something called the program as outlined by the committee called the task that will require 2 generations for completion of the first stage, no matter what extent law may be passed, unless eugenic programs become a part of the American civil religion. The financial support of necessarily to put in info execute cannot be secured from the several legislations, nor within such general feedings will it possibly, even with abandoning money, to effectively execute a program. Yeah, this is long. Almost done. If America is an escape to doom of national generally, it must breed good Americans. The fall of every nation in history has been due to many causes, but always chiefest amongst this cause has been the decline of the national stock. National must change, the nation must change, but they need not or necessity die out. A quickening eugenics consequence is one of the prerequisites necessary at the working out of the successful eugenics program. Eugenics must be diffused through our religion and moral code. It must be taught throughout the national educational system. It must be the subject of continual research. And let me drop this link here since I'm on here. Let me think. Because I'm going to open this up with those that still here. Along with eugenical advance will come social and moral advancements, for it is not why should we try to breed better persons. The more moral society will foster the eugenics ideal, and eugenics programs will in turn produce people successful of a higher social and moral development. The epitomize of the several remedies review, segregation, and sterilization are the one deemed by this committee to be most feasible and effective in cutting off from the human population the supply of defective, resective, or restrictive marriage laws and custody of eugenic education of the public and prospective marriage consorts, and in youth of potential parents and general environments betterment are all eugenic agencies of great value. In a particular problem, however, they rank greatly below segregation and sterilization. Although in other social programs there are prime importance, we condemn Mathism becomes in the field of finding agencies are able to cut off supplies of defective, but on the other hand, we find it fraught with great danger. And in that, it's more apt to strike the fecundity of our better class than among degenerates. Systems of mating purporting to remove deflective or defective traits, polygamy. Wait, let's read it again. Systems of mating purporting to removing defective traits. Let's read it again. Systems of mating purporting to removing defective traits are polygamy, euthanizing, laissez-faire, are condemned unreservedly. Man, I'm getting tongue-tied. This. Where's my water? Are condemned unreservedly. Systems of mating purporting to remove defective traits, polygamy, euthanizing, laissez-faire, and laissez-faire are condemned unreservedly. In the subsequent report of the studies of this committee, we propose by the means of first-hand facts and considering body of which has already been secured and studies to present the public data for weighing the several problems that apparently to this investigation or pertain to this investigation. That's the end of this article. Well, that's the end of this portion, and there is a summary, but we don't care about the summary. We just don't care. Links in the chat room. Lines open. Let me see if anybody's on the phone line. And that was very interesting how they put the measures and things in place that these had to be put into play, and we're not going to allow it. Or we will allow it one way or the other. Who knows? All right. Let me see who's here. All right. First caller. Leon, you there?
Hi, Chaos.
How you doing?
I was wondering, I know you read over it briefly about some cultures where the woman takes many suitors. Which do you think, or which did it said is more beneficial? Does it benefit more for society to have men have more than one wife, or for one woman to have more than one husband?
That's an excellent question. I go by numbers right now. I use, besides America, let's look at Asia. You know, China has a very much decline in regards to supply of a certain sex than the other. You're aware of this?
Yes, when they had the one
They
birth rule,
have an
more men.
overabundance. They
Yeah.
have more men than women. Now, if we do a good Google search, Lena, we'll find that most societies, on the average, there's always going to be somewhat a little bit more women than men, and most majority size in the world on the average. And we always ask, why is there always going to be more women than men? And we're not in days or stage of war where men go out and fight and die, and women, you get me? And the answer is simple, because if you have an overabundance of one sex that only is in the business of planting their seeds, what are they gonna do in nature if they're fighting just to procreate? They're gonna kill the same male species to get to what? One woman, right? Right.
Correct. Yes.
So we gotta look at that. There's more women than men in general. Now, will here in the West America that a lot of people are going to be comfortable or be for polygamy? Answer is no. And from what I'm reading and from what I'm concluding now, I can now say personally, it's going to be dangerous because the eugenic society designed the way it's supposed to be intended. Because let's be honest, if they start push this for the majority of people here in America, that's mostly white, says okay, you can get married with more than one wife, they will do so. But the problem is, if you open one door, you open the door for another. And they already do because they do a constant analysis of where they're going to be in a couple of decades, right? And they notice that they are already at the stage of decline for the last century. So to push that narrative to hope with the billion numbers, it will not suffice them, because if you push it on one side, others are going to follow suit, and others have the greater potential to have more than one kid than you. So now you're going to be put in the same situation, regardless you put any extra systematic place to hinder this. So that's why they said it's doomed from the start. It should not be a thing that we want, because it doesn't benefit us. It'll benefit the people that have the highest potential that could have more than one child. I think in Africa, the population size right now, without all the industrialization, is 5.5. Right here in the West, we're like under now a 1. So pushing polygamy here is forbidden. And there's a reason why it's forbidden. And it's always been around existence. And usually during the time of war, it was always necessity. Now, in the real world we live in, it would be nice that every person has their own, they can find one mate for each person, and we don't have these problems, right? But that's only in a perfect world. So you'll be far-fetched to see a woman, saying she wants more than one mate, and some of them will do it anyway. They'll do it, quietly, secretly, unless the man don't know. I remember one particular woman, come tell you this on the line, she's about to do a stream on this and saying that, it's more beneficial for a woman to have, be playing polygamous than a man. And normally her rhetoric is going to be because it's economically and financially, and it's much deeper than that. But it lets you know, say, because we live in the society and how things structures and how things done, that it would be better interest why with some women now, and she's only one, but there are many women that feel and think this way, because let's be honest, we live in a digital age. People are meeting more people online, getting more access, and the door is open for a lot of things. Unlike a male, because technology is advanced, depending how he carries himself, what he is, appearance wise, etc., he's not going to get that same outcome. He's going to do a little bit more work to get the real outcomes. Unlike a woman, you just have to do too much. If you have a social media and you look decent enough, you get a whole flood of fallacies. I'm being very PG with my language, so I hope that answers the question. If not, I'll probably elaborate better. But
Okay. Yes, you answered the question.
Now
Continue.
yeah, go ahead. Listen, I'm listening. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, like you were saying, I think one reason too why polygamy wouldn't be widely accepted would be like because of finances, like dividing and trying to figure out what monies go to what wife and so forth if there was ever divorce. I understand why it's not popular here. It's based upon finances and ownership.
Mm-hmm. Another secret that as I've been talking about, because some of the men that let's say guy like that, and then you remember when KS was alive, he said that if a man makes a certain income, he is going to have one more woman. He can't marry because in America it's forbidden you can't marry one woman, but he's going to have his side piece and say that it's justifiable. Now, to me, if you're going to do some things, you have to be upfront, honest with the woman personally, and let her make that decision. That should be fair, and it should go both sides. But let's be honest, a lot of people today are not going to be cool saying that your man, that guy like that, or whatever, that he's going to have a side chick and stuff. Most women are not going to be down with it. Hell, some dude will not be down if their woman, looks some way that they're going to have a side dude on the side. No, because we're conditioned here, and we could probably say that education might be the culprit of this. I can't really say that, but really society structures a way where it keeps people numbers wise in check in a way, and it has worked to a degree, but like I said, the population still grow, as you know, Leon. We went from wherever it is to almost pushing 350 million people, and worldwide I think in the next year or two we're going to be at 8 billion. So all that you see that they're talking about controlling numbers, sterilization, all of this was designed after, and let's be honest, after enslavement, physical enslavement during the 1800s. Because you don't hear him talk about bettering race. If you're this form, you shouldn't live. You don't hear these conversations. You don't see no works or books on it. It's back in the 17th or even leading up to the end of slavery. You only hear them talk about it now because they're watching their position here in America, numbers wise, and they're saying we are a small minority and we get smaller, and we can't be in control. So the next stage, we're going to create a scenario. Say we're going to better the race. Remember, Hitler got his ideals from America. That eugenics article you see I post, that came out before the 1920s.
I don't know,
So now,
like
yeah,
recently, I want to say, was that like 2 years ago? No more than 2 years ago. It was a whistleblower that she was a nurse, and she was administering sterilization medications to immigrants that were not immigrants, to detainees, from the border. They were actually sterilizing those people. So I don't know if they're still practicing it. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, even now with the sterilization programs we see here, all that was intended because, like I said, they're selected. And let's be honest, when we're talking about they trying to slow down women to give birth, right? They already look at a certain set of women to say you're going to be sterilized, you're not, because they look at the complexion, the outcome, the outer inner air, and we say that it would be more feasible if we sterilize you and take your womb and put it into somebody else that needs it. Just by the look, because they know what they're doing when they're selecting what they call selective breeding and selective sterilization. Personally, they're not just sterilizing anybody, because if we do like a percentage, how many people out here percentage wise have deformities? Is it more than 15-20%? No, it's very tiny percent, not even high like that. So what's the other measure? Oh, we're just gonna say we're gonna make us excuse say why we had to do this. So we were justifiable in our actions to sterilize you. And let's be honest, Lena, this is not a comfortable conversation. This is not a very much informal stream, because a lot of people, when they hear about eugenics and sterilization, they say, "Oh, it's black folks. That's it. Moving on." No, it's deeper than that. You gotta understand there are programs and the studies put in place of how they come to the conclusions and how they're enacting how they go about it. I mean, I just came across information like, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? And I just looked at it, scanned through it, and said, yeah, this is something to talk about. Because we always hear people talking about say polygamy is good for the community. Some people say it's bad. I just told you straight up, it is dangerous. And here's why it's dangerous. Because it, in its essence, if they open the Pandora's box, say you can have more than one wife or do things and there's no problem, there's no consequence, we're not gonna step in. It's problematic for those who barely could repopulate and have more than one child. If you're struggling, the last thing you want to do is give an advantage to someone that doesn't have the struggling procreating. That's the last thing you want to do. It's the last thing you want to put out here, or to put things in place to say suit benefit you to make up numbers while somebody else is going to jump over the numbers. You hear them talking about Latino people, which some of them majority are white, and most people don't want to hear that, but they are. They might have some black blood, but usually when you see most of them on the average, they're mostly white, and they don't have the problems with the procreation for now. But once they start watering out their genetics, they're going to come from the same problem that we see people that are more than 70 or 8% Caucasian in time. So they really do need black blood in them just to hope to get that genome so they can keep on the procreation process. If not, they're going to start declining and they're not going to replace themselves. You know, the earth is moving and shifting in a way where enough is enough. And now the next step is they're going to have to step in by nature to start flushing people out. You know, since wars have been existing for centuries, and also the next and most deadliest thing any person could face is when they cannot recopulate oneself. That's the most greatest sin of all. That means you're on a very short time clock. Yeah. But any other questions, Lena? That's on your mind on the subject? I know this is very long. I didn't want to do the introduction part of this, but I had to skim through that before I go into the real section of this.
No, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Kwanzaa kept, like you're saying, I think polygamy is, being um practiced, like there's like a lot of side chicks or side guys, paternity questions come, to play a lot of times. So it is, happening. And I actually had what do you call I've had it in my family, like
Oh, really?
where it has affected people in my family, where they're the side chick, or they their husband stepped out and they had a side baby. So I know it can be dangerous, it splits up families. So I think this is like a very interesting subject.
Yeah. I'm hoping this will have more of a conversation, and I'm hoping that people that is more well read than me will look into this, because this is not something they don't talk about much. I mean, you hear about gender wars and all this nonsense, right? But really, we don't understand. Say, well, a lot of people talk about this polygamy or not talking about it. Why is such a secret that these people orchestrate and put things in place? That's my thing. That's my thing. Why they doing such a thing like they're doing now? Yeah. Let's see. All right. Now, let me see if I get one person on the line, and we will call this a day, because we're almost 90-minute mark. What does that do? Anything? Where is he? Oh, I forgot. It's another. Hold on. Let's see if I can find her. Hold on, guys. That's fine. I'm positive. I know you bounce out. Oh, man. All right. Let me where is he? Oh, here he is. All right, let me see if I can get Mr. Miller on the line. All right, he's busy. All right. All right, well, I guess that's it. No other takers. This was a very much informative show. I hope a lot of people got something out of this ordeal. What's the next live stream I'm going about to do? I'm trying to think what's on my schedule. I might start have a special guest for the next stream. I gotta pick the date when I'm gonna do it. Still thinking the day to do that. And like I said, please leave a comment for this one. And was I right or was I wrong? Is polygamy, is it dangerous? And if it's so, if you've gone through and survived as far to this portion of the stream, give your own take interpretations. Leave a comment. Also, make sure you like the stream while you're in the door or on your way out the door. And like always, share this video. And that's all I have to say. Annette, thank you for watching today's stream. Oh, make sure to follow me on Twitter at ChaosRain7. Add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. And now join the Discord service of the Chaos Rain channel. The link is in the About section of the Chaos Rain channel. And that's all links. Until next time, Chaos Rain!